Hey everybody, and welcome to the Talkies, where three filmmakers talk about movies. I am Kenny.
I'm D.
And I am Taylor.
And today, we're talking about Antebellum.
Yikes.
The long-anticipated horror mystery thriller.
Masterpiece.
Before we get into spoilers.
Yeah.
Oh, and we'll be spoiling it. So if you haven't watched it yet, go watch it before we talk about it, because we're going to spoil it.
We're going to spoil
That's what
it.
we do
It
here.
will be spoiled.
Yeah. That's
Okay.
Is that it?
Right on.
Are we good?
We're good.
Okay, so what did Jordan Peele have to do with this movie?
He's attached as a producer, I think.
Okay.
I thought it was
That's
pretty great. Someone said this was like it was a horror post Get Out.
What?
This is what I heard, and I was like,
Oh,
that's
like in the universe or something?
yeah. No, post Get Out as in like in the world.
In the world
yeah,
of...
someone created this horror after someone else had created
Right.
Get Out.
It didn't even feel like a horror movie.
Should we just quick do hot takes?
Yeah.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah. Hot take, Taylor.
All right.
Hot take, Taylor.
This movie, real quick, it's really bad.
Yep.
It's
Yeah.
bad. It's really... It's a
Yeah.
rough one.
Oof.
I'll just leave it at that.
Thanks. Hot take, D.
Me?
Yep.
The first shot was beautiful.
And the music with it was really effective.
It was effective.
I thought it was cool.
And then, dude, like 10 minutes in, I started feeling, wait a second.
Yeah.
And then you and I talked about it a little bit, but yeah, it's terrible. It is just utterly garbage.
When Dee and I watch a movie together and there's a moment where with our eyes we make a social contract that we're going to be okay with talking through the rest of the movie, it's a bad movie.
Yeah.
Damn.
Like we
dude.
kind of looked at each other and we're like, this is pretty bad.
Damn.
And then we just gave commentary
Yeah.
the whole rest
They
of the
just
time. We're like, are
trashed
you
it,
serious? You're seriously going to do that?
Yeah.
Anyway.
It made it a lot more fun.
I bet.
It was the only way. We were like, how did Taylor survive this on his own?
Yeah.
It was close.
Yeah, it was hard. This was a bad movie for a lot of interesting reasons, which is why we're
Yeah.
going to talk about it.
I was really giving this movie the benefit of the doubt for a long time. Like I was trying to get into it. Like I was even putting aside some critiques I had of the movie early on until the movie finished to make sure to
That's
see
so
if it
nice
would.
of you.
Yeah, I was being
Generous.
pretty generous to the movie. Like for instance, like immediately the first big opening shot, which is cool. I'll say what I like about it. I'll say I think I like the look of the movie. I like the vibrance of it.
It's very music video-esque.
Cool. It is, yes.
For a reason.
Yeah, which makes sense, given these guys who made it. But like one thing that stuck out to me was I was watching all this happen, and we're seeing all these heinous things being done. The typical slavery era atrocities being committed, and it's awful and all that. And then I couldn't help but notice that the costumes were kind of weak. I was like, these costumes are kind of like, I don't know, they like seem kind of phony. But I was like, I don't know, maybe it'll make sense or something. And then then we get to a point where we go to the modern time, and then I gave them the benefit of the doubt of like, oh, they're just splitting their budget because they have to do a period piece and a contemporary time
Oh, nice.
at the same time. So I was like, oh, all right. But then the ending happened, and I was like, oh no. Oh no, this is much worse than I actually ever thought it could be.
But that makes the bad costumes okay because it was fake period anyway.
Yeah.
I know, that's what's funny about it is it makes sense, but it's much worse than if it was
it's
just
funny.
bad
There were
costumes.
a few little clues like that. For example, when they bring in the
Julia character?
the new bunch of slaves and are introducing them, and they're very clearly not what you would authentically see if you were trying to do an authentic representation of the slave period. You wouldn't have people who looked, spoke, or had hair like some of the characters that came in.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Julia was the one.
Julia,
right?
yeah.
And
Or the name Julia.
yes, the one they named Julia.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, man, they're not doing that very well. But instead, and it clued D to the fact that, oh, this is all takes place in a contemporary time. It's not real. To me, I just assumed that they were being lazy filmmakers because there was so much other amateurish stuff
going on
throughout the whole movie that I'm like, well, it kind of goes along with a lot of the other very amateur things. Like, this felt very much like a first time movie.
Yeah.
In the bad way.
In a very bad way.
Yeah, like not two proven filmmakers who have been given an opportunity to make their first feature, more like to film students who get to go make a movie with a school budget.
Yeah,
because
precisely.
There was just so much that just felt amateur. The direction of whenever they had a group of extras, like in the contemporary segment, there's an audience that she's speaking to, and the way they directed that audience was atrocious.
It was hilarious.
Like everyone nodded in perfect unison every time. It was so cringy. And her speech, the writing, again, very amateur. The speech she was given, I did not feel like the writers deep dove to try to create a character that passionately believed in what she wrote this book about.
It was all surface
level. It was platitudes. It was all just like quotes.
It was just platitudes.
It's
very strange.
Yeah, it just felt very surface level all the way across the board.
Totally.
Yeah.
Expecting the audience to really buy into certain characters, especially the sort of villainous characters. That woman who comes into her room and puts on lipstick.
Silly.
And it's just like,
just
what is
silly.
this even setting up?
Nothing.
There was no payoff whatsoever. It was just...
Yeah,
she's just being maniacal.
Just to be weird.
Yeah, there was a moment you and I, Kenny, I was like, we should check the time on the movie to see if...
Yeah.
Because we felt like we were still in the first act. We
knew a lot of time had gone by, and I'm like, nothing's happened yet.
Right.
Like, there's no real...
How far were you in?
Story development. More than half.
58
Way
minutes
more than
in.
half.
Yeah, that's... I actually checked the time around the same spot.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it felt like a first act.
Yeah.
Like, we're still just barely developing character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we're supposed to be moving into the third act.
Yeah.
Right. The other thing I was trying to
Sad.
really, I wanted to understand out of this movie was, I guess the social commentary that I felt like the movie was trying to go for, or I thought was trying to go for.
Yeah.
Of juxtaposing America's history of racism to how racism exists in America contemporarily.
Right.
And I actually there was probably maybe 10 minutes of this movie when we transitioned to contemporary times where I was like, oh dude, this movie's pretty sweet actually. This is gonna be kind of cool, where I made the unfortunate assumption that it would just be these two separate times existing independently of each other,
right,
but the characters are using the same actors in both.
Metaphorically
exactly,
the same.
yeah, and it just exists surreal in a surreal zone.
Yeah,
I thought, I was like, oh man, this could be awesome. You can actually go deep into some
you
real
gave it
issues.
just too much
and
credit.
Yeah,
right.
and then they completely shot themselves in the face when they make the whole thing this epic twist at the end.
Yeah,
that's the dumbest thing.
Well,
you
yeah,
could
they're
think
trying
of.
to. The movie
undermines
feels,
its own messages.
The movie
Definitely.
feels like it. The movie feels like it knows it's clever.
Yeah, I hate that.
But it isn't that clever.
Exactly.
But it isn't clever,
That's what's
right?
so
It's a
sad
pretty
about it.
straightforward story where they just mixed up the order.
Yeah.
That's the only thing they did was
Yeah.
they showed the beginning in the middle to throw you off, and there's nothing profound or deep about that
No,
in
not
itself,
at all.
you know. But it
Not at
felt
all.
like the movie wanted you to go there.
Yeah, and
you
that's that student filmmaker thing
Exactly.
coming through.
Yeah, that's what we
that
call
is.
pretentious.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Let's talk about something real quick. So we just came off of our Kubrick binge.
Yeah, well, that's
right?
probably
That's
unfair to
Yeah.
this movie.
So we just looked at Kubrick's entire filmography almost and judged them all, and then going into this, we keep using the words surface level, or shallow. What is it that made this movie not go deep? What made it fall short of being deep.
I don't think it really goes into any themes or anything really more complex than like saying that racism does exist and is a bad thing, and that there are still people out there who are very racist, and that is a bad thing. I don't think it goes any deeper than that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I could just leave it at that pretty much.
I think you're absolutely right. The one thing that made me just cringe pretty hard was the dinner scene when they're all having champagne together, the girls, and literally nothing happens.
Yeah.
Right. The one dude who was
buys the drink.
Yeah, buys the drink is the same guy I think who's in the thing. So I think that was supposed to be the creepy part. But what it could say about a theme right there was interesting. How you were talking about you're juxtaposing like modern racism with past racism, and that was really cool. Except they didn't do that, and I think it's because the writers didn't know they were creating something much more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I think they had just this plain old, very simple story in front of them where they're just like, oh, what if we showed like a reenactment, but it goes way too far.
Yeah.
And they just did that.
Or at the very least, they didn't use like characters and visual storytelling to its fullest like potential. Not even like halfway to its fullest potential for what you can do. Like unfortunately, comparing to a Kubrick film, where he uses the camera to really like go deep in some themes, and he uses characters to really go deep into things.
I think that they were unclear on their intent for this film in terms of what the theme actually is and what it's about and why they're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
There's definitely a surface level, very obvious narrative about race in America, right? But at the same time, they lead the movie with this notion of past and present, coexisting at the same time.
Yeah.
They mix in these creepy moments like the little girl in the elevator and in the hallway.
That was the stupidest
shot
thing.
Very purposefully to echo The Shining and other horror movie tropes. And I think that like lack of clarity is why some people are still using the word horror in connection to this movie, where the story is not at all a horror movie.
Well, there was obvious like jump scares in there. I mean, they weren't trying to scare you, but I mean there were like musical stings.
Which were like oddly out of place.
Well, and they even had, I think, the mirror reveal shot at some point.
And that's what I mean. It felt like the filmmakers themselves were unclear if they were making one type of movie or another.
Sure.
Maybe it was the Jordan Peele influence, that it's like, oh, well, we made a really strong commentary on race and made a pretty strong horror film in Get Out.
Right.
For some reason, the two did not marry the same way in this film. It felt awkwardly juxtaposed. The pieces did not come together.
Very awkwardly.
When the horror trope snuck into the movie, it felt like it was a different movie.
It was completely out of place.
We were watching, and it was funny, the description of the movie on IMDb calls it a mystery, a thriller, and a horror.
Right.
And it probably took until deep into the third act before I could use any of those labels with any kind of confidence.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because there was no mystery really.
Right.
Until probably the girl shows up in the modern time.
I feel like the mystery, the mystery through the whole movie is like,
what is this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is the
literally
movie?
That. Yeah. And then the reveal at the end of it being, it was all just a reenactment gone too far.
I said the reveal was so slow.
Yeah.
That it by the time they were like look at the sign of the park, it was like we already knew. It was already very obvious what was happening.
Yeah, once the phone started getting in there and like all that.
I got to talk about the
pacing
shot choice.
Was weird, the whole movie.
Pacing was super weird.
Yeah.
But, okay, so going into it, we talked about there were some tales that were just like, oh, this is probably a bad movie. Going into it, the first shot which is absolutely gorgeous. Just the palette of everything.
Yeah, I love the color.
Yeah, going into the plantation, following the little girl skipping across the field, and then we go to through the fields to go to the slums, right?
Mm-hmm. So, right, where the slave quarters.
Right.
Yeah.
So that whole shot, I guess it's also a scene, but that whole shot is visual exposition, right?
Yes.
Where you're showing everything.
Almost the only time they do it in the movie.
Yeah, pretty much. And when they did that, there was two tales for me, and one of them I already told Kenny about, where the person who's operating the Steadicam had a bounce.
Yeah, I saw that.
So what happens with this kind of Steadicam process is, because if someone is running, like really running, then what happens is they get off balance because of the vest that they're wearing. And so if they do that too much and too rhythmically, then it starts going with the bounce, because that's a intention thing. It doesn't work against you all the time. But that's an amateur thing. That's something that, someone who just started out doing camera operation would know, because it's very obvious when you look at it. And it's also something you can fix in post.
Yeah. I saw some pretty weak warp stabilizing on some
Did
shots.
You?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
So going into there, that was the first tale. The second one was when they ended that shot. Actually, and throughout that whole shot, the mise-en-scène was absolutely horrendous. They never properly framed anything to draw your eye, and I thought it was intentional at first. I thought it was like,
so did I.
We're just giving you just like a feel of everything of what's happening.
No, people were missing marks.
Yeah, no, they were absolutely missing marks. The cameraman missed the mark in the very last part. And Kenny also told me about this, where he's like, it feels like the like this was like the first or second take, right? Like they did the take, and they're just like, I think that's good enough.
Yeah, it feels like
we're never gonna get closer.
I had that thought right after that shot ended.
Yeah.
Was that felt like that was really cool, but it wasn't perfect.
Right.
Like it felt like a competent director would have looked at playback and said, again.
Right.
Again, at least 10 more times.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
That's the take that you look at.
And just block out the whole day to do
those
it.
an ambitious shot like that.
Yeah, really ambitious. That had over 50 people in that.
That is
shot.
a 25 take shot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so either they did that, and they're so incompetent that is the best they got.
Yeah.
Or they're like, okay, we got it, move on. Good enough.
Right.
Yeah.
Move on.
Right.
That's what I get out of it.
Right.
And I get a good enough out of it.
Of course, they also
screams
could have.
amateur, right.
I mean, if I don't know what kind of budget they were working with.
Sure.
They might have had the one day, and they were working at golden hour right then. That was a golden hour shot.
That was, yeah.
So they may have only had 15 minutes of time to get it in.
I mean, obviously,
there's all kinds of reasons
things,
why
sure.
you can't.
But the point here is that we're looking at someone who said good enough, rather than taking it out of the movie.
And that doesn't make good cinema.
It doesn't,
No.
Yeah, I mean, like if you have a shot, I mean, it's the reason why people get coverage in the the way that they do when you're filmmaking. You get a master shot that gets everything first, so that if you miss the shots going into it, you don't say good enough, we'll leave it in. You say no, we'll cut to the master. But in this shot, it's a very purposeful shot. It's the first shot, and it's a very long shot. Like it's so purposeful.
And I think it's effective too. Like I think
it's effective.
I think it's maybe the most thoughtful shot in the whole film.
It is. Yeah.
Everything's pretty basic after that.
It is.
The title reveal shot's pretty cool. You remember that?
You talking about the end?
At the very beginning.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh no, I love that.
Yeah, when she's getting dragged through and we're looking at the
That's
dirt.
great. That whole sequence actually reminded me of really good movies. that part where he the guy shoots the girl in the head and walks away, and they have that grass shot. I love that.
Yeah.
And some of the lighting in here is freaking great, but that all goes to music video directing.
Yeah.
Which is what these guys are.
Yeah. There's that also in that opening shot. There's the part where the Steadicam flies over the hedge, and it the camera is just above the hedge, and I was like, we're going up to the hedge, and I'm like, are they going to go over it? Are they going to go over it? It'll be such a filmmaker thing if we just go over it, because they're like, whoa, how'd they do that? Because they're passing it off to some other operator or something. You know?
Because
and then they did, and I was like,
as acclaimed
lame.
music video directors, you're going to have those kinds of chops. That's the kind of stuff that that you'd expect from guys
Right.
like this.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Plus, like, holy crap, that's a lot of lens. I don't know what they call the lens flare. That's that long vertical
Oh yeah.
lens flare.
That's anamorphic.
Anamorphic lenses. Yeah.
Tons
or
of
flare.
that flare.
Yeah. There was a ton of it. Yeah.
Yeah, like to where it almost got absurd.
Yeah. It was like J.J. Abrams.
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. That was pretty funny. That whole first shot. I was just thinking now the end of that shot where the girl gets shot and her boyfriend or husband or something is I don't know what's happening in that shot. What I thought what it was is because it was slavery times in my head. Then what was happening was the guy was somehow arguing with the girl or something like that, and the guys took him back to go kill him, and the girl just took that moment to collapse, but then she ran away. So I'm like, why is she running away? If she was grasping for her boyfriend. Do you remember?
Yeah, in the opening scene.
Yeah.
From what I could tell, did something uppity, right?
Yeah.
And so he was being punished, and she, it felt like saw an opportunity to try to escape.
Yeah.
While they were locking him up.
So in the modern sense, that kind of makes sense. If you're just there and you just see an opening, you're just gonna go.
Yeah, because
right?
you know that Philadelphia or whatever
Right.
is going to be on the
Is right over
other
there.
side of the woods.
Right, but not in slavery times. In slavery times, that makes zero sense. Like
Yeah.
she's just gonna get shot.
I remember,
and when she got shot, it
thinking
didn't.
about that.
When she got shot, I didn't give it a second thought. I'm like, of course she's gonna get shot. She's a slave who tried to run away. It's
Yeah.
just
Right.
boom. But now thinking about it, I'm just like, that's a horrible atrocity, right? He just killed somebody in this
Yeah.
modern age, and of course they're doing that over and over. But that specifically, that gave, there was no gravity to that situation because they tried to trick you into thinking it was older times.
I think they were more
Yeah.
preoccupied with trying to trick you
Yeah.
than they were with trying to get you to empathize with characters and tell a story.
Yeah,
you
it just
know?
really makes you think like they were banking, you know,
Yeah.
this whole thing on that reveal.
Yeah, and it's like just because it's about racism, therefore it's inherently deep,
Right.
but it's not. Like just because you're about that subject matter doesn't mean that doesn't. You can be surface level about it.
Absolutely. And
so,
that's what they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so it's
Yeah.
like they're coasting on the subject matter,
Yeah.
rather than actually telling something deep with the story.
Right. And that's what I looked at a subreddit that was talking about this movie, and a lot of people were calling the first sequence, like first 40 minutes, torture porn, is basically what they were saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, it's not, but I can definitely see why you're getting that. It's because they're saying nothing. with
That's how I felt.
We were seeing the brutality
it was just
for
violence.
For no
purpose.
reason.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just violence,
Story
violence.
not going anywhere.
Yeah. I think the thing that frustrates me about this movie also is that pretty much every single thing it does, I can think of direct examples of another movie doing it way better. Like,
Yeah.
like in terms of like straight up, even like black empowerment revenge porn, which you have at the end when
Right,
she
Django?
burns Django.
Yeah.
Django's the very
the best for that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then if you want the social commentary on racism with horror, Get Out.
Get Out.
Better.
Yeah.
If you want the stupid modern day twist, The Village. That
Village.
movie still kind of sucks, but it's better
The
than
Village,
this.
still
the
is a better
Village isn't
twist.
even that good and does this so much better.
Yeah,
and,
that's bad.
And if you want a really like heavy movie about slavery that's like grounded in realism, 12 Years a Slave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which has its own horrific elements.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And you can make a really good horror story just sticking in that time period and just sticking with the atrocities that they're doing.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's what they were trying to do, I think, at some parts, but maybe I'm misinterpreting because it doesn't, it feels so flat. It really falls flat. I wanted to talk about real quick another horror movie that I saw on Amazon Prime, because we wanted to see Antebellum, and I was thinking Antebellum's going to be great because the trailer was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the trailer used all these shots.
Most deceptive trailer
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah, I used all the shots actually perfectly without dialogue because the dialogue is really what screwed up everything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they started speaking, you're just like, oh, that's what it's about, right?
You can tell that they're good at They're good at making visually striking imagery, but
Exactly.
they cannot write for shit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, how hard would it have been for them to pull off this if the slaves were allowed to talk on the plantation?
Well,
Like, it
yeah.
became obvious that the rule that you
Yeah.
can't ever talk was meant to mask the audience from what
Yikes,
was
dude.
happening.
That's
That's
terrible.
pretty yikes
Yeah.
right there. Yeah.
Yeah, but sorry, you were saying about this other horror movie.
Yeah, the other one that I saw was Vivarium, which was with what's his name? Forgot the dude's name. Social Network guy.
Jesse Eisenberg.
Jesse Eisenberg. Him and some other girl. And what was weird after I finished that movie, 'cause I already thinking that it wasn't going to be very good. It's a low budget horror, but what was weird about it was it seemed to believe that it was really, really scary. And it seemed to believe that it was really interesting.
I hate when movies are aware of themselves.
And it was so weird.
That's the worst.
Yeah.
It was so weird. It was like at the end of this movie, the stupidest. It's so bad. Like when you look at a movie like Antebellum and stuff like that, you're just like, oh wow, yeah, bad movie. But Vivarium, I feel like it even, like the directors thought not even it was clever. They just thought they were making a really good scary movie. And it's stupid. It's about a couple that goes into suburbia to go buy a house, find out it's not for them, but they can't get out. Finds out that it's like a infinite suburbia, and so they stay in one of the houses, and then a lot of really weird things happen, like the surreal stuff, which is actually really cool. The surreal stuff is awesome, but then they die, and it turns out it's aliens. The aliens are somehow using a suburbia
Spoilers
front.
for Vivarium.
Vivarium, yeah.
If you
Who
wanted
cares,
that.
honestly? Yeah. So the message that you get from the movie is like, okay, wait, so the aliens are using a real estate office to feed on one couple at a time? Is that what it is? And it's the weirdest thing. So, but it makes me think. I mean, because Antebellum had basically the same issue, where the writers go in, they write something, and are just like, "This is genius," and they go out and make it. And I don't understand what it is about these films that make people want to make them, even in the first place. Because Antebellum was obviously not super expensive to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was some passion behind some of these shots. I have to wonder, was it the writing? Did someone just come to them with a story and be like, I really like the work you guys do. What if you made this? You know, it feels like there's a disagreement here. It feels like the artist is out of the work. Like there's an inherent someone in here that's trying to masterfully.
I'm gonna check right now because I feel like it's a dumb thing to say, but I feel like it was written by the directors.
It's absolutely terrible writing. It's just I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, they wrote it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's oof.
I mean, like, my mind goes to, like, ego. I mean, like, I could see this being a pretty cool ego flex
Like-
as they're making it, and
Yeah,
probably
like
getting
is
a lot
that
of
what it
pats
is?
on the back? Like,
Like,
man,
do
that's
people-
so deep.
Do people
Whoa.
get so blind of their own bullshit? Like, this is what people thought about. What's his name?
They're like, Jordan Peele's in. Oh my god.
Who's the guy we were just talking about? The Village.
Shyamalan.
Shyamalan. Like everyone talks about Shyamalan, how his ego is so big, right? And I don't know if I believe that, but I can understand why people are getting that from his movies, right? Because you see something, and it looks like the movie or the person who's making the movie takes itself way more seriously than the audience does.
Yeah, when I see ego in a movie, it's
Yeah.
because I'm seeing that the movie has an expectation of the audience that it hasn't earned with the movie itself.
So okay, so that's it right there. So suspension of disbelief, right, is what it is. So I guess they're making it for a different audience, is what it is. I mean, obviously not for us, but I mean, like, for most people. I mean, most people didn't like this movie, Antebellum.
Yeah, it got bad reviews.
Yeah, like what audience are they making it for? Is it like, is their group so small? I wonder if it's like student films, right? When you're making a student film, or you're making
This feels very much like it was pandering for the Get Out crowd. I think
Yeah.
they wanted
Yeah.
it to be a breakout like Jordan Peele's movie.
So I wonder if what they were thinking is if they're not thinking outside of that little audience. I mean, not
a
only
little
that audience, but like the people that are making the movie with them. Like everyone is just hyping each other up. You fall into your little circle.
Oh, circle jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, and you just make a movie for us.
Easy to do that, by the way.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to break out of that bubble, no matter how seasoned you are. That's
Yeah. And some people do it graciously, like Nolan. You know,
yeah.
like he's just a talented filmmaker.
Yeah.
Like he's definitely not making it for other people. He's definitely making it for him.
Right. The twist itself, the idea that there is a plantation, like a Civil War reenactment, that where they're literally kidnapping black people in mass and just full on living in times of slavery in contemporary time. It's pretty preposterous. I mean, isn't it? Like,
No,
it's
this is realistic, man.
I don't know. I don't know
Look,
if I.
It was right behind a reenactment.
I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not saying that racism doesn't exist and isn't a real. That is definitely a true, actual problem.
You
and
sound
I'm sure,
like a Holocaust denier.
I'm
Jeez.
sure there are some terrible racist people out there who would love to be able to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But the idea
No.
that it could exist
You're
on
talking
that
about a much better
scale
movie.
on
Whether
There's a much better movie somewhere in there.
well,
yeah.
the fact that it's preposterous or not isn't the point. The point is they didn't make a movie that convinced me it could exist in that world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In that
You
world
know,
that they built.
at all. Yeah,
that would have
sure.
been the creative challenge.
Yeah.
Is
Right.
tell me a story where it feels totally believable that they were getting away with this under everyone's noses.
And they could
Yeah.
have if they stuck to their guns and did the whole modern times part well, to where they really convinced us that there are really, really bad racist people that are contemporary people.
Yeah.
Right.
They decided to keep that mysterious and
and,
allude to it.
Oh, good.
and again, that was the problem of not having a real clear vision of the movie. They kept wanting to be spooky in a movie that isn't at all by nature spooky.
And
The story
mysterious.
they made.
Like
Yeah.
it was artificially mysterious.
It was artificially mysterious
Yeah.
because all they did was change the order
Yeah. I'm like wondering
to
if
make mystery.
Right.
this
You
would have
could
been
do that with any movie
Yeah.
on Earth.
This would have been a
Yikes.
better movie, honestly, if they told it just in linear fashion. If they
Yeah.
showed modern times first, and then went. By the way, I got to say this real quick. That whole scene with the family in the kitchen and everything
In their house.
was so Death Wish. I hated it so much.
Yeah.
It was the perfect family
No, it
Yeah.
felt
with zero conflict.
worse than that. It was like it was like the WB,
Yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
TV,
It was.
sitcom
Jeez.
family.
it was, and like anyway, but put that aside for that.
Not
So,
perfect, but he's perfect for me.
you got them
Remember
titties
that
out.
one? Oh, jeez.
Hey girl, you got them titties out? Okay, so anyway, if they just literally told it linearly, right? If they had the modern times first, and then we see how crazy these people are, and then it gets into the slavery thing, like that would have been more interesting. That just would have been interesting. They didn't have to make a twist.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be.
Well, they
he's got a
did.
cell phone on a horse.
But how else would we know how cool they are?
Well, and then stuff like the flowers being delivered to her hotel room,
Yeah.
right?
Well, see,
Which
that
ultimately
could have been spooky though.
meant nothing.
Yeah, it could have
right?
been spooky though.
Well, but that's what I mean.
Yeah.
It was like added in to be a spooky thing,
It
right?
could-
the guy
it could-
delivers him, and then he just walks away without answering, like totally creepy.
we laughed out loud at that part.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it was just like, oh, we need a little weird in this sequence, so
Yeah.
let's have this guy, and then
Like allude to the other
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
and then we'll have the villainess be like so sloppy
Yeah.
that she brings her daughter out still in costume,
Still in costume,
Jeez.
right?
and doesn't educate her daughter that she can't like treat black people like slaves when we're outside of the world.
I just realized. I wonder if she shushed her because she's not supposed to speak.
She did, yeah.
Yeah.
She shushed her and
See,
said, "You're not
that's
allowed to
interesting.
talk. You'll get in trouble."
Oh,
So meaning
deep.
I didn't see that.
the little
That's
girl, the little girl is completely brainwashed
Wow.
that reality is it, and yet she still just lets her run around
See,
a hotel
that
in
would have been
costume.
really cool.
in costume.
Again, there are other cool movies inside this movie.
That's how I keep feeling too. Yeah, cool movies within the movie.
Yeah.
Another thing I really hate about this movie is how how maniacal the like, I guess the racist people are the main two antagonists, that villainess you mentioned, and then the main villain guy who literally has like a mustache, villain mustache even. I hate how they act like evil. I hate how they act evil.
Yeah.
One-dimensional evil.
It's so one-dimensional. And I think what's even worse, like what's a scarier idea and a more realistic idea is the idea that people who are that racist in that time, they're not thinking of themselves as evil. They're not going around on their like maniacal.
Right.
They think they're in the right, and they're doing a good thing.
And that's what was weird.
I think that's scarier.
That's what was weird about the opening scene also, was that they had the guy who was talking to what's her name, the main character, saying, "What's your name? You know, it gives me no joy to do this," you know, and beats her. Like, I was like, because I was in at that time, I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, this is slavery times. I'm trying to understand both sides and the dichotomy there. And I'm just like, that's, you know, it's really effed up that he thinks this isn't torture, that he's not being, you know, a huge, crazy guy right now.
Yeah.
But he knew. Because it's contemporary.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, again, it's writing that just doesn't take into context
the same
what
thing
it's talking
with
about.
the conflicted white boy who's given the girl to rape, right?
Yeah.
And how he has this like deep inner conflict about what's the right thing to do.
Right.
But when he's conscious that he signed up for a game.
Yeah. Like,
he literally came in voluntarily.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Like, this isn't like...
He made no sense.
That conflict makes sense if he believes he's in a war.
Dude.
Right.
You know what? Actually, that it feels... Wow, this is weird. It feels more realistic that they like the writers created this universe and then filled it with characters, right? They had this idea, what if a reenactment went way too far? Okay, now let's put characters in it.
Yeah.
And that's I feel like that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it does feel that way.
Because the characters seem self-aware that they're supposed to be evil and unaware that they're in the times that they are.
Yeah.
Right.
Jesus.
I mean, that would have been another interesting development in the story, is that, like, what if lots of people don't know they're in a simulation?
Yeah.
Like what if this has been going on years
twist.
and they were born
right, and they were like born in
and
it,
they believe there is a war.
That's the village, right?
Yeah.
Like that would have helped some of the story, but none of that's on the screen.
No.
So all we can imagine, these are just racist people that get their jollies by playing slave owners. So they they signed up and they come and they bring their phones with them. Well, of course, actually, we know that's not the case, because those two young guys recognized the phone for what it was.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So
I love how he was like, "No, I know there's no phones allowed."
Yeah.
Like just plenty of exposition.
That's
straight to
perfect for the audience.
the exposition was that was the biggest sign of an amateur writer.
Yeah. How are they supposed to know?
Yeah, is that, we talked about that first shot and how they did a great job of telling us things
Without saying anything.
with visuals.
Right.
But the rest of the movie, it was like, let's spell it out. It's like when her friend comes over for the first time, the woman played by Gabby Sibbedy.
Yeah.
She's an excellent actress, by the way. I felt like she was completely wasted in this role.
Absolutely.
When she comes in and she's welcomed by us, how is the world's greatest family and relationship coach in the world? And she's like, I'm good. And I'm like, well, thanks for telling us who she is. Now we know. And it's like,
yeah.
Terrible.
There's many, many, many moments like that.
Yeah, almost all the dialogue is like that.
Yeah.
How about that terrible day for night climax?
Yep. Yeah.
We looked at each other.
Yeah.
We're like, this is day for night, right? And he's like, yeah, that's real bad.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, look at all the sunshine.
You can see the sunshine, the sunspots.
All these hot spots of sunshine all throughout the background.
Like, I think it was technically like day for
dawn.
Yeah, like the sun's starting to come up.
But it was definitely night when they started.
Well, I mean, they do that kind of
But they
thing in
definitely
movies all
shot
the
the
time,
scene at noon.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and
Yeah, hard shadows.
Yeah,
I'm like, this is the brightest moon ever.
Just tinted blue, call it good.
yeah. Dude, that moon that moon just it had me laughing every time I saw it.
Yeah, because it's like
It's so big and,
was.
and just obviously fake.
Yeah.
I'm just like,
in fact,
oh,
it
man.
made him spawn a theory that it was like in a dome or something.
Yeah, I was thinking there's an even bigger place that they're encapsulating.
Yeah.
it's like Truman
Yeah.
Truman Show.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it,
funny.
it felt like the cardboard moons that early film productions used to hang in the
It did.
background.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and that it turns out it's just bad. Turns out it's just that bad.
Ooh, I'm making a cringe face.
Audio cringe.
Audio cringe. Oh, this is gonna be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Can you guys think if this movie, if Antebellum was a pizza,
Ooh.
I've been dreading this.
what
an
kind of
interesting
pizza would
idea.
it be?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. It's easy.
Okay.
It's easy. I'm imagining a time where my wife and I slept in really late, and my 7-year-old son, Forrest, and his 4-year-old little sister decided to make pizza, having no knowledge of how to make pizza. They did their best. They gathered up ingredients and things, but they know nothing about cooking, right? They mix things together. They put stuff on top that they think should go there. They maybe cause some real danger by trying to use the oven. And of course, we wake up to them fully expecting us to be excited to eat this thing they made. That is this movie.
Oof.
Ooh, yikes.
Oof. Ouch.
That is unfortunate. Mine is
I just called you little kids, man.
It's the expectation that they're holding it up with big wide eyes, going like, "Love my pizza," and we're just looking at it, going, "That's not even a pizza."
you're like, oh, honey,
But I'm gonna
that's
have
adorable.
to eat it.
That's adorable.
Because I
I'm
love
gonna
you.
do-
I'm gonna eat it anyway and pretend I like it.
mine is so you got a pizza and it's got like top tier fresh cheese on it. Just one kind. It's just like fresh mozzarella, but the crust is like you go to the grocery store and you buy like Baboli crust, pre-made crust. So it's just that pre-made crust and jar sauce, and then it's served to you in a bowl, and then they sprinkle way too much parsley on top, just like a ton of parsley on top of it. Yeah, like it's not even right. Yeah, and they're like, "Look at this, isn't this cool?" But it's just kind of like,
Just
that's
a bunch
kinda,
of parsley.
yeah, it's just that ain't it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, man, isn't this cool?
Isn't that cool? They show you like it's like in a bowl because like, oh, isn't that? How clever am I? It's a bowl.
Yeah, I know this real hip pizza joint down the street. They give you pizza in a bowl, man. It's crazy.
Okay, I got one.
All right.
So, it's you guys had Lunchables before, the pizza
Oh yeah,
Lunchables?
yeah, man.
Okay, so it's just
Those are
that
good.
It's that dough, you know, the little cracker.
Yeah.
But it's blown up, you know, to the actual size,
Full size and then Lunchable.
and they have, and it's made out completely, you know, with the fake plastic cheese and the sauce from the packets. But it's made out to be a huge pizza, you know, and they serve it in a box that has a picture of a beautiful pizza on the top, and it smells really good. And you open it, and you're like, well, let's try it, and you try it, and you're just like, this ain't it, Chief.
This is terrible.
Ooh,
This is disgusting. Yeah.
king size Lunchable. That's hysterical.
Yikes.
I bet if that was blown up to that size, that you couldn't roll a pizza cutter through
You
it.
can actually,
Like I don't think it would even cut. It would just be like impossible to cut.
Like tack,
Yeah.
hard tack.
hard tack pizza.
Well.
Good stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, you heard it here first. You heard it here first.
They probably
Who
heard
did?
Uh,
it some other places.
Huh?
Who?
Our audience.
Huh?
We have an audience?
Hey Taylor, why don't you close this out?
Oh yeah,
Hey,
that's
wrap
my
us
job.
up,
And
man.
could you
'cause we-
apologize for the last week too?
Yeah, I'm sorry about last week.
Thanks,
Thank
man.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We were supposed to
Also-
cover.
Well, we were supposed to watch that movie.
No, we did watch it.
Oh, we did. We watched and recorded. I'm thinking of ending things.
Oh yeah,
episode,
I
but,
forgot about that.
Yeah.
But our mic situation got all whack. We have an XLR cable that just kind of like blew up basically. So that
So
whole
amateur.
episode,
Yeah.
Kenny was like for
Yeah.
like an hour. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
So
It was
that was
deliberate.
didn't work out too good.
It was deliberate. It was a good movie, by the way.
Well, probably was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were in a funk, you know.
I had a funk going on,
you
but
get
I
a pass.
also
You get a
didn't.
pass.
I also didn't think it
No, you were in a funk.
No,
no. It was a good
I'm
movie.
I'm holding my ground here.
Funk.
It was
It was a good movie.
Funk Taylor.
there was
Taylor.
things I liked about it, things I didn't. Boom.
He's
Leave it
got
at
the
that.
funk.
Okay, compared to Antebellum.
Oh man, like I'll watch. Yeah, Antebellum is way worse. It's not even in the same league. Well, you see, in one hand you have a talented, actually competent
Director?
writer who actually knows how to write and direct, and actually has a style, actually has a unique voice.
Oh, yeah.
To them.
In the other hand, you have
In the other
music
hand,
video.
you have a music video.
A
And
2-hour music video.
Yeah. So, what is it? Sorry to Bother You.
Yeah.
That dude's a music video guy, right?
I don't know.
Boots, he's like a
Yeah.
musician.
He's a musician.
Yeah.
Right.
Musician turn, and then that was his directorial debut, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
Right.
that movie
So-
felt like a song.
It kind of had the same
Yeah.
same kind of vibe going, where it just
Yeah.
it just felt like it was lacking the hand of someone who knew what they were doing.
But
Yeah.
just to be clear,
He had way more voice.
Charlie Kaufman's really, really good. And that movie, Kenny and I adored. That one
yes.
on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah.
Not Antebellum.
Yeah, of course I wasn't suffering from a funk.
Anyway, you were saying, Taylor.
We're about
What's
to
this
do something big next, right?
Are we?
We're gonna make an announcement.
Make an announcement, man. Do it.
I believe if
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean we haven't
Yeah.
even all.
It's confirmed.
No, it's confirmed.
Okay, we're
100% confirmed.
All right then. Okay then. We're starting another deep dive of a filmmaker or two filmmakers combined.
Yeah, do it.
We're doing the Coen Brothers
Yes.
in chronological order this time.
Yes.
Beginning to end, we're going to cover their films. So, welcome to Coen Con.
Coen Con.
Starting next week. Coen Con with Blood Simple.
Blood
Okay.
Simple first.
Something about the schedules, though. We're changing Talkies to Thursdays.
Wait, wasn't it always Thursdays?
It's always been Thursday. We're shooting them on Thursdays now, so they're going to be edited and posted on Friday.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
new episodes every Friday.
Every
New
Friday.
episodes every Friday, bros.
And we
Yeah.
got a new XLR
Ladies.
cable, so
Yeah, so hopefully we have.
We got
yeah,
new
but we do
XLR
have two
cables.
other XLR cables that are like
We're-
about to blow up too.
Hey,
so
hey, listeners, send us your XLR cables.
Yes.
PO box.
All right.
Thank you.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye.